Okay. So a few things to start off. If more people hop in here, jump in, I may refresh on some of this. But for most of these guns, I'm gonna run the VOK, which I know, John, I think you run the VOK, but for a couple reasons. Number one, it's got some of the cleanest sights. There's not a lot of visual noise going along around the red dot. It's a very precise thing. So for me, if I'm using the AR, I'm getting some kills up to 100, 150 meters. So you got to use the VOK, but exclusive Ace, I want to give him credit for this because I did not even know how to test this, but he found that it actually provides a bit of recoil control, which is huge because especially on some of these guns, like the M4 has a decent bit of recoil, the Growl has a decent bit of vertical recoil, so it's really helpful to have that extra recoil control. Like I don't think it's a ton, but it is noticeable. So another thing is when it comes to aim down sight time, the VOK only has a 1 frame ADS penalty. So when it comes to picking between them, the VOK is going to be one of the best simply because it's got better ADS time. So also with the attachments I've done, I'll show you right here, but like I have the Commando foregrip on the Growl. So if I come over here and I shoot this right here, I'm not going to try to control the recoil all, I'm just going to let it go. Okay, so that went straight up. So if we go over here and look at this, there's not a lot of side-to-side recoil. That's with the Commando foregrip. Now here's the Kilo. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to go back and explain something in a minute. Let me pick a different board for the Kilo. So if I use the Kilo, it's got something different. See, it kicks pretty hard to the left there. So when I shot, there's a big jump right at first, and then it kicks pretty hard left. You can see it even kicked even further left going out to that wall. So that's the difference in the Kilo. Most guns kick right. This one kicks left. So here's the difference between the Ranger foregrip and the Commando foregrip. So if I go back to that same board that I did over here, so that was the Commando. If I come over here and I do the Ranger, that's a good bit of idle sway. Goodness. So if I go look at that, you can tell at the first it's not too big a difference, but up here you can tell there is a significant amount of side-to-side recoil. Okay, now for me, I think that the as far as vertical recoil, you can always just pull down on the aiming stick, but when it comes to side-to-side recoil, it is completely random and there is no way to control it. And so for me, I don't see why the Ranger foregrip really provides that much of a advantage, because the Commando foregrip, that's a very tight pattern. If you're holding down, you can control that up and down vertical, and that Commando keeps the Growl pretty much no left to right recoil. So I would definitely go with the Commando foregrip on the Growl. So recoil control is up and down, recoil stabilization is left to right, and then aiming stability, that's the idle sway. So if you see there's a decent bit of idle sway, just how it moves around, the aim and stability attachments are going to keep it from swaying as much. So let's just compare some. So with that being said, most guns you're going to use, the M4 has a decent bit of left to right. The M13, you could use the Ranger on the M13. There's not a lot of left to right, but I like the Commando once again because I can control up and down, but not left to right. When it comes to the LMGs, is a little different because I have something wrong here. This needs a. I could have sworn this had a snatch grip on it. Maybe not. But let's go ahead and so these are, as far as long range, these are the 4 most popular. So let's compare these side by side. We're gonna kit each of them out with what I was talking about, the Commando foregrip, VLK, monolithic suppressor, longest barrel, and 60 round mags. We're gonna do each of them like that to start with, because even with the M4, there is debate. So the longest barrel is actually the M16, but the Grenadier actually adds another frame of ADS time, and if you're looking here, it provides a slight advantage to range and accuracy, but a pretty big hit when it comes to mobility because it's that extra frame and slower movement speed. So if you're just going to use it for long range, you can go ahead and put that longer one on there, but it's going to be a little bit slower. So then we've got this good as well. So you could switch, like if you don't want a suppressor, you could put a tac laser on here, increase the aiming stability. Or if you don't need a sight, you could put a tac laser. If you're going to add something else, I would replace it with a tac. If you're going to replace any of these things, like you don't care about the extra mags, you could put the tac laser on there. Like I said, if you want a suppressor, you can put a tac laser on there. If you don't want the optic, you can put a tac laser on there. A tac laser, it decreases ADS speed, increases your aiming stability, and your aim walking steadiness. So if you're going to replace those, I would definitely do it with the place it with the just mind blank tac laser. Okay, so we got the M4. We can go right here. That was a good bit of recoil. I shot about 30 shots. And go right next to it, shoot the M13. Okay. So here's the M4. That M4 has a ton of recoil. Those are the first 3 shots bounced really bad. It tightened up a little bit, but as you can see, even with the Commando foregrip, there is still a good bit of left to right recoil. With the M13, there's definitely not as much vertical, but there is a lot more right. You can see once it goes up a little bit, it kicks hard to the right. So once again, that Commando foregrip helps a little bit, but you see with there's not a lot of left to right other than that pull, but the bullets are still pretty tight, whereas with the M4, it's spread out a good bit and it kicks up at a higher rate. So now let's try the other 2. Okay, so now I've got the Growl. I think I've already shot at this one, so let's that was a different one. Anyway, so the Growl, we already kind of did this, but let me show you again with the Commando foregrip. And this is the Kilo. I'm not touching the aiming stick at all right there, which is crazy. So if you look at the Growl pretty much goes straight up. They kind of overlap here, but the Growl is definitely not as much upwards recoil as the M4, probably about the same as the M13, but there's not a lot of left to right pull at all. It sways left a little bit, then goes back right, but the bullets are still pretty tight. Whereas with the Kilo, it kicks pretty much steady left, but if you can tell, these bullets are so tight. And if you notice when it got here, it just sat right here for a while. Look at this. Look at these bullets right here. That's crazy. So with the Kilo, most guns, the more you shoot, the more they pull. But with the Kilo, after those first few shots, it just sits still. So I'm going to aim down sight here. Watch this with the Kilo. Let me reload first. I'm going to try to control a little bit. So if you appreciate that, Anton. Appreciate that host right there. It just sat there. Like, it is so easy to keep a tight bullet spread with the Kilo. I didn't do a very good job of controlling it here. Whereas even with the Growl, see, I have a little harder time controlling it as composed to the kilo. It's a little harder for me to control it. That's definitely not as tight a bullet spread as I had with the growl as I did with the kilo. Now I'm gonna do the same thing, try to control it with the M4 and the M13. Okay. All right, so here's the M4. And here's the M13. All right, so if you see that with the M4, I was struggling a good bit. Yeah, I appreciate that, Anton. Appreciate that host. Yeah, I'll try that mag in just a minute. So with the M4, I was a little all over the place. With the M13, I was pretty concentrated. Still not as much as the kilo, but definitely more than I was with the M4 and probably even the growl. Now, John said, let's try the M4 with those 32 round mags. Now, John's the only person I know that runs these. John, do you run the tack laser? What do you put on here instead of the tack laser? Do you replace the commando foregrip or the suppressor or what? No suppressor. Okay. So he runs the tack laser with it as well. Like I said, if you don't mind a suppressor, you could do that. It'll provide you with a little more stability and accuracy. So let's try that. All right. So the disadvantage to this is going to be that the ammo's incapacity. You know, maybe for duos and solos, it'd be fine. If you're running trios or quads, it's probably going to be hard with this 32. But that's up to you. John does pretty well with it. So let's see. Definitely a lot less recoil there. There's still a little bit of side to side as opposed to the kilo in the M13. But if you can see, I was definitely able to keep it a way tighter bullet spread than I was with the regular rounds. So definitely, if you want a more of a laser, you can run those. A little less damage, higher fire rate, not as big a mags, but definitely worth trying out. Now let's compare these to the two three LMGs. You got the PKM, the Bruin, and the Finn. Now here's the thing with this is really the only way, in my opinion, to run the PKM. Right here, you got to have that extended barrel monolithic suppressor, in my opinion, for range. The VOK, you've got to run an optic with the PKM. The iron sights are pretty, I mean, they're not bad, but for long range, can be a little much. Now with this, I feel like you have to run the snatch grip and the tack laser because it is so slow. The snatch grip decreases the aim down sight speed while helping with recoil control, and the tack laser also decreases aim down sight speed while helping with these other things. But those two, helping with the aim down sight speed is a very big deal because there's not a lot of left to right with the PKM, so that recoil control is helpful, but its ADS is so slow. You've got to have those attachments to help with the ADS with those two attachments is not bad at all for an LMG. Definitely worth it. Let me see. Have I not shot at any of these yet? I don't think I've shot at that one yet. Yeah, it should be good. Okay. So here's the thing with the PKM. If you're looking at just recoil itself, you can tell that it's going to go up a little bit, but it's really not that bad recoil, and it doesn't go left to right much at all. So if I'm trying to control it like I did with the others right here, it is not that bad to control. Once again, not as good as the kilo. Maybe about the same as the M13, but still for the damage that the PKM puts out, That is a very, very tight bullet spread. Definitely doable. Now, if you compare that to the Bruin used to be an absolute laser. It's got a little more recoil now. But if you can see, the Bruin has more recoil than the PKM. Now, granted, I don't have a foregrip on this. If I was to add a foregrip, let's see, if I want to put a commando, help that side to side as opposed to tack laser, I guess. We'll try that real quick. Let's see. We'll see how much that really affected it. We'll shoot toward the middle of this right here. So definitely easier to control that side to side. I feel like the tack laser, that ADS speed is pretty slow without that tack laser. So it's going to be a little rough to run it as far as ADS speed, but it is a pretty tight bullet spread right there. Now we got one more LMG to try. The Fin. Okay. All right, let's see. Can I shoot the middle of this? Yeah, okay. So here's the Fin. So with the Fin, I've got VOK as always, commando foregrip. The long shot advantage, you do have the adverse, which is a higher fire rate, but it is very hard to control at long ranges, which is what I'm testing at this moment. Monolithic for extra range and suppressing, and then the tack laser, because it is an LMG, you definitely need that help with ADS speed, but it also helps with that aiming stability. So with this gun here, it is not bad. I mean, it's got a little up and down bounce, but not bad left to right at all. So not a pretty tight bullet spread. Once again, not quite as good as the Kilo, which to me is a big deal for the Fin because it doesn't do as much damage as the other LMGs do. It's just got that 5.56 ammo. So it doesn't do as much damage. And so for me, this amount of recoil and lower fire rate in exchange for the damage is just not worth it. I would definitely run the Kilo or the PKM over this. So in summary, we tested all these weapons: the Growl, the Kilo, the M4, the M13, PKM, Bruin, and Fin LMG. And once again, these are all for long range, like mid to long range guns. You could definitely try some different attachments. Let me make sure. Let me see if anyone said they wanted me to try anything before I check any of these. I don't think so. I don't see any responses. No. Okay, so yeah, so we're looking with these. I told you commando foregrip. That left to right is going to be really helpful when you're at long ranges. The VOK helps with recoil control and clean sights. Longest barrel and monolithic give you the most range possible. Then you got mag size, which is going to be important in Warzone. So if you're doing that and you're looking at all these weapons, I didn't tell you the damage profiles. So the Growl does the least damage per second out of all these. After that, it would be the Kilo. And then this is at over 50 meters. Then the M4 and then the M13. The M13 actually does more damage per second than the M4 over 50 meters. Then I think Fin, and then Bruin, and then PKM. So the PKM does the most damage per second out of these, but then you have trade-offs. So if you're looking for, you don't care about ADS speed or movement speed or anything like that, the PKM is probably going to be the best option because the damage it does compared with the low recoil, it's just really, really hard to beat. But if you're just against running that big heavy weapon, you've got to go with trade-offs. So if you're looking to strictly ARs, the M4, if you run those mags, those 32 mags, it's a good gun, definitely a good gun. But for me personally, even with the 32 round mags, which are smaller rounds, I still feel like I can control the M13 and the Kilo better. And for the Growl, I know the Growl's a good gun. It doesn't bounce left to right hardly at all, but it does the least damage out of all these guns. And I just don't like, I can control the Kilo better than I can the Growl, and it does more damage. So like, why would I use the Growl? The only thing the Growl has over the Kilo is ADS speed, which at long ranges is not that big a deal. So really the Growl is just, it's not as good anymore after its nerfs. So if you're looking for the most absolute just laser, you got to go with the Kilo. If you can control recoil at all, which I'm not very good at, I can still keep it on a target better than any gun. It is an absolute laser. But if I'm playing a tournament today or just picking the best gun, I'm either going to use the PKM, or if that's just too heavy for me, I'd rather have better ADS speed. I'm going to go with the M13 because the M13 does not have a 50-meter drop-off. Most ARs and LMGs have two drop-offs, somewhere around 35 meters and somewhere around 50 meters. The M13 does not have that 50-meter drop-off, and so it does a ton more damage. Its time to kill is like over 1/10 of a second faster than any other AR over 50 meters. Compare that with the fact that it is the easiest to control recoil of any of the ARs besides the Kilo, and that is a huge advantage. Most people don't realize that, but from like under 50 meters, the Kilo, the M4, the Growl, any of those are going to be better than the M13, because you don't need to control the recoil as much, and it does more damage. But if you're over 50 meters, the M13 wrecks. It is once again, the M13 has over 1/10 of a second faster time to kill over 50 meters than any of these other guns were tested besides the PKM. And I think the difference is less than less than 5/100ths of a second slower. So it's very close to time to kill under 50 meters, and it's way faster time to kill over 50 meters. So for me, I will take that trade-off any day because most of my AR kills are going to be over 50 meters, or at least around it. So I run the M13. I feel like it's the best choice. If you want a second choice, I would definitely take the Kilo. I would throw the Growl out of your loadout. I do not think it really wins in any category with any of these. The M4, to me, it just has too much left to right, but it does have a good damage profile, and it is very versatile. If you're not going to be using it, like if you're going to run it with a sniper, or you're not going to be using it over 50 meters, go ahead, run the M4. It's a good gun. But as far as you want a laser, not going to be as good. As far as LMGs, the only LMG I would consider using is the PKM. The Bruin has been nerfed to oblivion. It is not good anymore. And the Finn just doesn't damage profile is not as good as the LMGs, and its mobility is not as good as the ARs. It's actually a really good multiplayer gun, but for Warzone, it's just not really usable. If you're going to use it in Warzone, I would kit it out like an SMG, like this. Go ahead and put that monolithic suppressor on it. I would put where is it? I think it's the factory adverse that I use. Maybe it's the Pro Twist adverse. Yeah. Damage range. Probably that. Probably run with this. Monolithic suppressor. commando foregrip and tack laser. You probably need to run no stock instead of either the foregrip or the tack laser. I'd probably take the foregrip off. I would run it like that. Run it like a SMG is probably the best way to run the fin in Warzone, honestly. A couple more things I want to test real quick. So that we did long range. Now I'm gonna do some close range. So let's put the MP5 in here, the MP7. Any other suggestions here? The Fennec. To be honest, those are the only 3 SMGs that matter. You could run the AUG if you want, but we'll put the R9 shotgun, I guess. I don't know. I put the. Here's the thing with shotguns. They are good, but their damage is extremely limited, especially with the R9. I cannot find an R9 loadout that really makes it viable. It is not a 2-shot kill over like 5 or 6 meters, to be honest, especially hip fire. Whereas with the Origin, you can kit it out pretty well. So here's the couple things with the MP5. Couple things you've got to do. Put the monolithic integral suppressor on it. Some people run it with the monolithic suppressor. I don't know why. The ADS speed is the same. The range and accuracy increases are negligible. And this allows you an extra attachment. I honestly don't know why people still want to run the monolithic suppressor in the muzzle. The integral suppressor is way better. You can run the subsonic, but that range decrease is not worth it. It's just not. I would not run that. You could run the mini, but once again, that range decrease is a huge hurt. I would definitely run that monolithic integral. Don't need an optic. It's close range. There is some debate here, but to me, you got to use the Merc foregrip. That hip fire accuracy is crucial. Plus that recoil control, it's got a good bit of recoil. You have to run the 45 round mag, so that's 3 things that we definitely need. Now here's where it changed. You could pick anything here. If you would rather have faster reload time, you could run sleight of hand. Like if you, especially in quads, that's very helpful. But for me personally, if you were going to use this like a aim, if you want quick aim down sight times, I would either put a tack laser on it or the stippled grip tape. Both give a huge decrease to aim down sight speed. The stippled grip tape helps with sprint to fire, which is very helpful, and the tack laser just gives you a more accurate shot. So if you want to use it at a little longer ranges, like if you're going to run it with a sniper or something, definitely put that tack laser on it. If you think you're going to be in close range, like having to sprint out a lot or whatever, run that stippled grip tape. You could run the collapsible stock, but it's got the same ADS decrease as the stippled grip tape. The only thing that you would run this for is movement speed, and the decrease, how much it hurts your recoil control, I do not think could be worth it. So I would definitely run that stippled grip tape, the tack laser, or the sleight of hand. I like the stippled grip tape just because it doesn't hinder your, they can't see your laser, which is kind of a big deal. MP7, monolithic suppressor. I always think that's essential in Warzone. Now here's the thing with the MP7. You can kit it out for close range. It doesn't do anywhere near the damage of the MP5 and the Fennec. But you could kit it out for close range, which you can do by putting you can run 50 or 60. The only difference is aim down sight speed. So I run the 50 just because I don't know why you would need 60 rounds on a SMG. If you're going to use it extremely close range, put the Merc foregrip on it and the Yeah, stippled grip tape. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the tack laser. Now here's why. That decreases ADS speed, and that decreases ADS speed. So these three increase your ADS speed. So those two offset that. Now here's the difference. If you're gonna, I do not use the M13 like that, MP7 like that, because even though it was more accurate than the MP5, it does not have anywhere near the damage per second. So I would definitely rather use this like like run it with a sniper or something like that, because if you put the recon barrel on it in place of the stippled grip tape, you've actually got some pretty good range on here, and I will show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so MP5. The MP5 has a good bit of recoil. So pretty big, not a lot side to side. You are definitely going to hit body shots here. Like if I go to this thing and I'm shooting, if I'm even from right here, I'm not going to have any trouble hitting those upper torso to headshots. Not a big deal. Whereas with the MP7, this thing is a laser. It is an absolute laser. Once again, doesn't do the same damage per second, but even at longer ranges, with that tackle of the MP7, oh, sorry, if I was using it for long range, I'd put the commando foregrip on it, which would help side to side. But it is still a laser. I mean, it is very tight spread. But at super close ranges, if you're running it with an AR, do not run the MP7. Now what I want to do, if you like I said, if you're going to run at close ranges, the two SMGs you could use are the MP5 and the Fennec. One thing I want to test right here is the MP5 is the best for hip fire. You can replace that stippled grip tape with a 5 milliwatt laser. It's visible, which is a big deal, but for hip fire, it is very tight hip fire. With the Fennec, I've tested a lot of different things with this. You could, for range, combine the Saber with the Apex. That would give you a really good range on it, but I like being able to use the other attachments because the Fennec has a very slow aim down sight speed. For that case, you need things to decrease it. So filling up both these spots really limits what you can do. You've got to run the 40 round drums or else this gun is not worth using. It goes through ammo so fast, as the fastest fire rate in the game. If you don't have those 40 round drums, you cannot do much of anything. Now, if you really want to use this in trios or quads, you've got to have sleight of hand, but that uses 3 of your 4 attachment slots. And does not make it very viable, in my opinion. I don't like running the Merc foregrip of this one because that increases your ADS speed again. So I actually don't run a foregrip on this. What I do is I put the tack laser, the stippled grip tape to decrease my ADS speed, and then I run sleight of hand. Because it's got a slow reload speed and a slow ADS speed, so if you do not run these 2 attachments to decrease your ADS speed and the sleight of hand to decrease your reload speed, it's really not viable as a SMG. So here's a hipfire laser. Watch this. Even at this range right here, I'm not gonna aim down sight at all. We'll try it somewhere clean, like right here. So at that range, it'd be a little tough to hit, but a lot of these shots would be on the body. But even if you just come around the corner, hit fire, and then zoom in, it's very viable. Now here's the thing with the Fennec. With those attachments, its ADS speed is fine. The MP5 is still a little fast. Well, probably not. Without that tack laser or stipple grip tape, it's not quite as fast ADS. With those stippled grip tape and tack laser, it's got pretty good ADS. It's got a decent bit of recoil, but it's not that bad side to side. See, so it's not, if you're controlling it, it's not that bad to just hold it down. I think the Fennec is a really good gun. I think it's very underrated. I love the MP5, especially if you run it the way that I said earlier. What am I missing? Stippled grip tape. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sleight of hand, I guess. If you want to run it with the sleight of hand, or you can run it with the tack laser. I like to run it with the tack laser because I think those 45 round mags are enough. So here, if you run it, if you got this, here's the ADS speed on the MP5. I don't see much of a difference. They're both extremely fast. But here's the difference in recoil. So here's the Fennec. Here's the MP5. So nowhere near as much up and down, but a ton more left to right. And that's honestly probably because I have the commando foregrip on this one, on the Fennec. The Fennec is not as good as a hipfire weapon. I don't see a good way to kit it out for hipfire, but if you get that quick ADS, it's not going to be that big a deal. So I think it's fine. And I really love it. If I was to tell you, if you want to do quick ADS, I would use the Fennec and kit it out that way. If you want to do it for hipfire, I would kit the MP5 out for hipfire. And that's my opinion on those. With the Origin, last gun right here, this is the only way, in my opinion, to kit it out. You have got to put the choke on it. Damage range. You've got to put the impaler on it. Damage range. You've got to put more rounds in it. You could run the slug rounds. They did buff the slug rounds, but it's a little harder to hit hipfire that way. Put that 5 milliwatt laser on it because you need it for hipfire. And lastly, run it no stock. Make it more mobile. So no stock, hipfire with the laser, extra rounds. If you don't want the extra rounds, you could run it with like a, I don't know what you want to do. Merc foregrip, I guess, but it doesn't help with, nothing else helps with hipfire. Could run the 25, decreases your movement ammo speed a little bit. I wouldn't do it. I think 12 is enough. So that damage range with the Ord, that's going to be a big deal. Very tight bullet spread. Even with hipfire, a little hit on the outside. I think only, what, 3 of my pellets hit there? So if you're at that range, you're probably going to need to zoom in. But especially at close ranges, there's no reason that the Origin is not viable. And you can shoot it super fast. So it's still viable, but I am personally going to use the SMG over these things. I will upload this. Most of you are probably watching this on gonna watch this on YouTube. Didn't have many people tune in for this, so I hope you can catch this later. It's a good gun, but if I'm running a tournament today, this is what I'm running. I'm going to put a M13 as my primary gun. I don't know, pick something. Monolithic. Longest barrel. I am putting the Commando foregrip. I have tried the Ranger. I think the Commando is better. 60 round mags. And last but not least, a VLK scope. For my secondary, depends. Either the Fennec or the. If I'm running quads, I'm probably running the MP5 just because the Fennec ammo capacity cannot handle with it. But like tomorrow, I'm playing inter duos. So tomorrow, I'm probably going to run the M13 and the Fennec, and I'm going to run it with the Deadfall, 40 round mag, stippled grip tape, tack laser, and sleight of hand. Gotta run cold blooded. Gotta run amped and overkill. I don't think there's another choice there. C4 has been nerfed to oblivion. Oh my gosh. So I'm running Simtex and either flash, stun, heartbeat sensor, whatever helps you the most. I cycle back and forth between them. But once again, the M13, even at extremely long ranges, probably not as accurate as the Kilo, but not hard to keep it on a target at all. And I'm not very good at recoil control. So again, the Fennec got quick ADS. You can probably get max 3 kills out of this. But that sleight of hand is not too bad. But that's my tournament loadout. If you would like to see me run any other guns or test any other attachments or anything, I would just go check Exclusive Ace out. He's honestly the best at it. But if you want to see some specific things, let me know. I would love to do so for you.